Hi, I'm Nathan and I'm the founder of the Fitness Physio. So who am I? I'm a physiotherapist who's worked in the Premier League and been featured as an expert on running injuries for the Times. In terms of the vision and value proposition of the Fitness Physio, it's to keep you running by making you stronger. So a little bit of background about where this idea came from. We know that running is a popular and inexpensive way of keeping physically and mentally fit, and it's one of the most popular physical activities worldwide, participated by millions every single day. However, we know that running injuries, unfortunately, can be commonplace, particularly in those novice and beginner runners. And recently, a survey that was conducted found that 50% of those novice and beginner runners are suffering from an injury. And of that 50%, a massive 86% were continuing to run despite being in pain and having a running injury. So that kind of highlights the scale of the problem. There are no specialised running physiotherapists locally, and that is where this idea came from. And we also know that locally and nationally, there's a lot of pressure on the NHS, and waiting lists for physiotherapy, unfortunately, are continuing to grow. So what is my solution? My solution is a specialised physiotherapy clinic that specifically caters for the needs of runners. I'm an experienced physio with a history of working with elite athletes from various sports and runners of all levels, from couch to 5K participants to marathon runners, all the way up to triathletes and Ironman competitors. My philosophy and ethos as a physio is that of manual therapy and rehabilitation. I'm a big advocate for manual therapy, and I believe that manual therapy acts as a bit of a gateway and helps to settle down symptoms and provide a little bit of analgesia so people can move into the rehabilitation phase. And ultimately, it's the rehabilitation that will pay long-term dividends for runners and patients alike. So my background of working in the football club was really strongly an influencer of making sure that rehabilitation forms a big part of what I do as a physio. And the aim of rehabilitating these injuries is to reduce the risk of recurrence. As I mentioned on the previous slide, recurrence is a big problem for running injuries because of the repetitive nature of left foot, right foot, left foot, right foot, left foot, right foot. And I think the issues that I've seen in industry and working in practice is that there's a disconnect between what we ask our patients to do from a rehab point of view. So people might ask them to do sit to stands, for example, 3 sets of 20, which involves getting up and down off a seat in a squat type motion. And then these people are then wanting to compete in the Great North Run, for example. Clearly, there's a disconnect in the middle there where just because someone can sit to stand 20 times for 3 sets, does that mean they can run 13 miles? Probably not. So that middle section is often what's missing in the physiotherapy world, and that is where my skill set and my philosophy is really, really advantageous. So just a quick insight into the kind of target market and the numbers locally. Parkrun is not the be all and end all. This is a snapshot of running participation, and this probably doesn't actually do it justice. But this is one of the only kind of quantifiable measures that we have of running participation, because a lot of people run on their own, and that's one of the beauties of running. But just for some statistics, parkrun is really, really popular, and I'm from Darlington, so I've included the Darlington numbers, and that's where Fitness Physio HQ would be based. So over 267 people are participating in parkrun in Darlington every single week. And if you think about those figures that we spoke about earlier, so 50% of those potentially might have an injury, so you're looking at maybe 130, and then 80% of that potentially continuing to run. So well over 100 people reasonably could have an injury that they're continuing to run through. And I think if they know there's a specialist service out there, hopefully they would be able to access that, and it could help them. So The two local ones to Middlesbrough, you've got Stuart Park and Albert Park. So again, you've got nearly 500 participants there. And Sedgefield and Northallerton are the next two geographical closest ones to where Fitness Physio will be based. So you've got over 1,000 there, and that's just from 5 of the local park runs. And as I say, park run is great and offers a good snapshot, but it is just a small proportion of what people are actually doing. So in terms of validation and why I know this idea would work, I have experience of working in private physiotherapy practice for other clinics, and I consistently would hear stories of poor management. The scenario I'll give you earlier with the sit to stand versus running the Great North Run, those stories are far too common. You know, there's a big disconnect between what some physios expect runners to be able to achieve before they'll sign them off versus what the runners need to achieve to perform their chosen distance, for example. I also have a research area in running injuries, so I'm 2 years through a part-time PhD, and the area that I'm researching is running injuries and the prevention of running injuries specifically. So the two ideas kind of dovetail really nicely, and I think that offers part of my USP, as we'll discuss later. We know that running participation is continuing to grow. The COVID pandemic was a little bit of a catalyst for that, and people couldn't access gyms and took up running as a way to keep physically and mentally fit. And that participation continues to grow. And so far, post-COVID, the numbers are looking good that people are sustaining that, and also more people are getting involved. So we know that running is a really, really, really popular sport. And to capitalize on those people who do unfortunately get injured, the Fitness Physio is ideally situated. So one of the professional athletes who I currently work with is a British champion boxer. Here he is holding his belt up, very proud and quite right as well. And this is a little bit of a statement or a testimonial that he gave about the kind of service that I offer him. And secondly is a runner. And an ex-GB team member, still a very, very quick runner, but this is a little testimonial or statement that he gave about the kind of services that I've offered to him in the past. So in terms of the business model, so first of all, the startup costs are relatively lean. So I have a purpose-built building at the back of my garden, so it's separate to my house, but it serves a purpose that I will be able to use that as a base for the Fitness Physio HQ, certainly in the early days before any expansion is considered. But that keeps the costs relatively low and the kind of ongoing costs relatively low as well. That means I can also offer a really competitive pricing structure. The pricing structure is not so low that it kind of undervalues what I offer. I've been qualified over 10 years and my pricing structure is proportionate to that. But because I don't have as many overheads as potentially some other clinics that have rental fees to pay, then that means I can go in at a really competitive rate, and that can help me attract patients as well. The service will work, customers will pay directly for one-to-one appointments initially, and that is the main kind of stream of income, is that people pay for these one-on-one appointments, and they pay for the time they get with me, and each session would be £40 and would last for 45 minutes. To bolt on to that, as I said, my ethos is rehabilitation, and that involves strength and conditioning. So essentially, once the runners are rehabilitated, or they're back running, or they're injury-free, they will be discharged from the clinic, but I will offer conditioning programs. So that might be 3 separate levels: beginner, intermediate, and advanced, depending on the skill level and experience of the runner. But that's a way of keeping those runners under my umbrella, but also making some passive income, and also doing the right thing morally and ethically by them, and not keeping them in the service for as long as for longer than they need to. Sorry. In terms of the marketing plan, this is where I feel like the focus needs to be, because I know the service is valuable, I know the service works, I know my experience and my knowledge can contribute, but it's the marketing and the brand awareness that I really need to improve on, and that will help to take this to the next level. So I know that I need to create a website, and I've got some really good ideas from undertaking the Fuel program as to what that might look like. Social media content is going to be a big thing for driving brand awareness. I do have that in progress. I've got an Instagram account that I've posted some content on, and that's got over 800 followers already. I've got a Facebook and a TikTok page that are ready to go, but not yet being advertised. So hopefully part of this will be to encourage some traffic towards the Facebook, the TikTok and the Instagram pages, and increase that brand awareness locally and further afield as well. One of the best ideas that I've heard on the Fuel program was the creation of a monthly newsletter. That's something that I should be doing and can help to drive brand awareness by creating things like sign-up lists, etc. And hopefully I can get some good analytics around that, around kind of how many numbers are engaging with my service. I'm also going to continue to collaborate on academic and non-academic publications. As part of the PhD, I will be publishing research in this area. I appreciate that some of the general public don't really consider academic publications, and that is why I think it's really important for me to continue the non-academic publications that I've already been involved in and continue to publish easily digestible content. So on the far side there, I have the life science banner. So there's an article currently ready to go out, probably before the end of the year, that I collaborated on with a journalist, and that is going to be in the public domain very soon. The picture in the middle there is a front page feature that I was involved in with the Times, looking at running injuries, and that was a double page centre spread. So I was really quite proud of that one. And I also wrote an article for The Conversation that I'm going to show you on the next slide, and that had over 20,000 views worldwide, which was a pretty big deal. I'd also look to collaborate with a couple of teams in the Fuel program. The marketing team, especially, they provide video content, and I feel like I have some really interesting visual content that would make a nice video to help promote me and make me stand out from the competition. And there is also a business who concentrate on SEO. And again, I think from a brand awareness perspective, that's a really important collaboration that I would need to explore a little bit further. So my USP is that I link research and evidence with elite sport experience. As I said, I've got experience of working in an elite sporting environment, such as the Premier League. The top photo there is me as a volunteer physiotherapist at the Commonwealth Games in Birmingham just recently. And just below that is the article I wrote in The Conversation. So check that out if you are interested. It's a really interesting article, and it might bust a few myths that you have about running injuries. In terms of the grant spending, these are the four main areas that I would probably focus my attention. Marketing is, as I said before, quite a big thing, because I think brand awareness is part of the issue that I'm facing right now. I know my product's good, I know it works, but I need to spread the word a little bit better. So that money would be focused on social media advertising and SEO. I also would need a treatment plinth if I'm going to progress the business, and I think that's a really important piece of kit as a startup piece of kit, and that would help to really lift the standards in terms of what I can offer. Consumables are a must. They range from things such as couch roll to cleaning ointments to massage ointments to TheraBand, resistance band, etc., etc. So they're going to be a real essential for starting up the business. And finally, software licenses are a really important element too. So Canva for my social media posts is going to be really important to make them visually appealing. And an online notes and management system would be essential as well. So Physio Diary is probably the most user-friendly and competitively priced one that I would go for. And in terms of future growth, how I see this developing over the coming years, once I get to saturation point, I would love to get a larger facility with purpose-built gym and a little bit more equipment to help expand the service and offer more services. I think my position as a lecturer in physiotherapy is ideally suited to employing student interns and offering graduate employment opportunities for our sports therapy and physiotherapy students in particular, but also further down the line, potentially sports science and strength and conditioning students. You know, some other experienced physios who have different skill sets to me, who might be able to offer something to the clinic, such as injection therapy, which would be a really niche thing to add in. And I also have friends who are specialists in running coaching, in sports science for running, and strength and conditioning for running as well. So I think the overall plan would be to expand the team and expand the offering from the fitness physio, rather than it just being a physiotherapy clinic, to a one-stop shop for all running related injury requirements. And the idea longer term would be to produce a smartphone application that dovetails with the findings from my PhD research, and would include everything from injury prevention for runners right through to strength and conditioning for runners, advice on how to get the best sleep, nutritional strategies, etc., etc. And if I was successful with the smartphone application, and that could take this nationally and internationally. There's no bounds. You're not bound by geography then, and this could really be a really important part of the business plan going forward if it grows how I think it should grow. So this is a quick, really modest financial forecast. As I'll be working full time as a lecturer in physio, and this is a part-time venture for me currently, I have capacity to facilitate around 10 sessions per week at the moment at £40 per session. So in the first 3 months, I would hope that I could achieve 2 sessions per week consistently. 3 to 6 months, I would be looking to try and engage with 5 sessions per week consistently. And the reason being, word of mouth referrals hopefully would start to trickle through, and also the social media and the SEO should start to gather a little bit of momentum. Around about the 6 to 9 month mark is where I see the SEO and the social media campaigns really coming to fruition and really encouraging more engagement and more brand awareness. And then by the end of 12 months, I would hope to be filling up 10 full sessions every week consistently. At the 12 to 18 month mark, I would hope that I would have a small waiting list of a week to 2 weeks. And once I get to that point and I'm consistently having people waiting a week or 2 weeks for appointments, that's when I know I'm at saturation point and I'm ready to expand and look at growing the business a little bit further. And in terms of cumulative incomes, there's a little table just across there that you can have a look at to explain that. Thanks for taking the time to watch this pitch, and hopefully I will see you very soon.